all the relatives within it. As these words of acknowledgement are spoken and heard, the ties nations have to their traditional homelands are renewed and reaffirmed. CSU is founded as a land-grant institution, and we accept that our mission must encompass access to education and inclusion, and significantly that our founding came at a direct cost to Native nations and peoples whose land this university was built upon. This acknowledgement is the education and inclusion we must practice in recognizing our institutional history, responsibility, and commitment. Now we are swearing in senator and associates. If any senators or associates need to be sworn in, please come down now. Seeing none, we're moving on to beginning roll call. Can the clerk call the roll?
Alrighty, Senator Bakari.
Present.
Senator Barrett.
Here.
Senator Cole Johnson.
Present.
Senator Winston. Senator Tabib. Senator Wilson.
Here.
Chair Osborne. Here. Chairman Anti.
Present.
Senator Hill.
Present.
Senator Melchior.
Present.
Senator Schumer.
Present.
Senator Chacon. Senator Snyder.
Present.
Chair Taylor.
Here.
Senator McAllister Johnson. Senator Davis. Here. Chair Frisky. Here. Senator Reese. Present. Associate Senator Rivera. Associate Senator Daniela Salazar. Senator Barron. Present. Associate Senator Camber. Present. Senator Lasser.
Present.
Associate Senator Alvarez. Senator Pickerel.
Here.
Associate Senator Yankowski. Here. Senator Buckner. Associate Senator Ozor. Associate Senator Leggett. Associate Senator Miller. Present. Associate Senator Myers.
Here.
Associate Senator Berg. Senator Huizenga. Senator Vaughn. Associate Senator Turner. Associate Senator Morgan. Present. Associate Senator Frankie Salazar.
Present.
Senator Melka.
Present.
Senator Chancey. Senator Chancey. Senator Rivera. Present. Associate Senator Bushara. Here.
Thank you. Next, we move on to consent agenda. Senator Pickerel.
I would like to motion to add from the WGAC bill to the old business.
Is there a second?
I second that.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Any abstentions?
Stay.
We just have this for top.
The
There's no
top
old
old
business.
business.
Great, this will be added to old business. Our elections manager, yes.
I'd like to.
Give me 1 second.
May I motion for the ratification of the elections committee to be moved before reports?
Is there a second to that? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The ratification of the elections committee will be moved before reports. Is there any other changes to the agenda at this time? Next, we move on to gallery input. Anyone from the gallery who wishes to speak at this time? Seeing none, I guess we move on to elections committee ratifications.
Thank you. Yep. And I'm just gonna have you guys see if I can put my joint note on it. And you're gonna start by answering all the questions. And just go back.
Hi, everybody. Just to reintroduce myself, my name is Caitlin Spencer. My pronouns are she, they, and I am your elections manager. And here I have brought forth the second round of elections committee ratifications. I'm really excited for you all to ask them so many questions.
I would like to make a motion to place the candidates on a slate.
Second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Any abstentions? Candidates are on the slate. We will open up a period of Q&A, starting with the first raised placard. Questions. Associate candidate.
I'm going to try my best to remember this word for word. How do you plan to uphold the values of diversity, equity, and inclusion in your role?
I personally will uphold these values by understanding that I come from a different position than most people do, and understanding that people don't have the same background, and upholding others' ideas and cultural norms.
Sure, I think it's really important to acknowledge all of the different perspectives that people bring to the table. I think our committee itself is very diverse, and I think that will really help us to make sure we're making just decisions.
I think that coming from a background where I am part of a minority and I'm an immigrant and first generation student, I think that it is really important to ensure that we create like a welcoming, safe space for everyone here at CSU. So from my own experience, I will ensure that diversity is essential and important in every of my actions.
Although our main job is to be non-biased, it is also to uphold the values that are here at CSU. And I plan to uphold those values, no matter if that means going against one candidate or the other. That is my target.
I plan to uphold the values of CSU's diversity and inclusion and keep biases out of the workplace and do my best to understand people's backgrounds and where everyone has their standpoint.
I will keep bias out of the court and respect others.
Before we move on, can we have you all introduce yourself? You guys have never did introductions.
Sure thing. I'm Garrett Lopez. I'm a transfer student, new last semester, and I study political science.
I'm Caitlin Brennan. I'm a sophomore studying chemical engineering with minors in chemistry and political science.
My name is Daniela, and my pronouns are she, her, and I am majoring in social work.
My name is Sarah. My pronouns are also she, her. I'm a second year. I'm majoring in political science and minoring in political communication.
My name is Ben. My pronouns are he, him. I am undeclared and a first.
My pronouns are she, her. I'm a sociology major with a minor in political science.
Great. So, Associate member, do anything else?
Yes. I will try to keep this brief. How do you plan to balance ASCSU, school, and outside work if it's applicable?
I always love going by the phrase of like, if you want something to get done, find the busiest person in the room. So I'm sure all of us have a plenty hefty school schedule and have jobs as well, and we all balance it just the same. So it's all about time management and being passionate for your work.
I'm gonna echo that. I feel like I work best when I'm really busy, especially as an engineer. I'm always super busy, but I always find time for the things that matter to me, and this is one of those things.
Yeah, for me, it's also really important to find a balance. I think that for me, I'm a really organized person and I try to make everything work every time I feel like really stressed. I feel I work really good on under stress situations. So yeah.
So kind of like what they said, I do like having a lot on my plate, and I also would love to serve my community. That's something I want to do as a career. So to get a head start now would be really great.
I plan on keeping my time management skills up to par for the job and everything that I'm doing. And this is something I'm really interested in and passionate about, so it's important to me.
I'm happy to be here and I will make sure I dedicate time and have a good balance.
I have one last question, super quick. Do you feel comfortable acknowledging when you do have a bias and recusing yourself of a situation where you may have a slanted bias or outlook?
Absolutely.
Of course.
Yeah, I think it is really important to make because we all of us have different points of view, and I think we should. It's really important to just simply recognize it, and in every aspect of our lives, like in our jobs and with our friends, and I think it is really just essential to defend our own beliefs, but also at the same time ensure that everyone else like embrace their own beliefs and we respect each other. So
Yeah, I think it's important to understand that at some point you probably are going to have a bias, and that's not a bad thing, but recognizing that you do have a bias and accusing yourself and understanding that you can't participate in something because of your bias is important. So that's something I plan to do.
I do plan on keeping my biases out of the workplace, but if it does come up, bringing that up to my peers and to the leaders around me and making that known.
I will try to remain unbiased, but if I am, I will refrain myself from the situation.
I yield my time, thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Senator Hill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Hi, all. Thank you for presenting and applying for this position. It's a very important position. Excuse me. Two questions. First is, give me an example or a time, any experiences you may have had in working in committees or in groups such as this.
I've been in many leadership positions that involve conflict dating back to high school. But most importantly now I'm on the Model UN Club and manage that as an officer of that club. And so there's a lot of public speaking, a lot of management of people and time.
I'm currently on the CSU mock trial team, and I'm also in a couple of different engineering clubs. I've had leadership roles and non-leadership roles, so I'm pretty comfortable wherever.
I forgot to mention I'm a freshman, so I got to the US 4 years ago, and during my high school years, I grew up in a really white community, and I decided to be part of the student government. I was the first Latina to be part of it, and I also created the Latino club at my school. So I think it was a whole process of discovering myself and my own like identity, and I think that I've been working really hard on it. And so yeah, I think that just mainly being in a community where I feel underrepresented and be part of like a change also has been like really impactful for me and has been helping me to be more sure about myself and about what I believe in. Yeah.
So I'm in the student fee review board, as a few of you see that you are as well. And being part of that board means representing thousands of students and their student fees. So it is a position that you do have to be unbiased and understand that you're not just representing yourself. So I think that would be relevant to the work I would do at the committee.
I'm currently an intern for the executive branch of ASCSU, and I feel the work that I've done in there has led me to be perfectly qualified for this position.
I'm the vice president of the criminal justice organization on campus, and I can play leadership roles or any other roles, and I feel like I'm really flexible.
Thank you. That should be it. Are you?
Thank you, Senator Davis.
You guys already answered my question, so I yield to redundancy.
Thank you, Senator Buckmeyer. Buckmeyer, sorry.
Hi, guys. Okay, so my question is, how do you guys intend to uphold or endorse secrecy and discretion in your work?
I think it's a pretty simple standard. I mean, I think things that are talked about in our committee is kind of where that ends. If we're told that this is secret, then it just stops right there. And this isn't a conversation to have with anybody else aside from the committee members.
Maintaining confidentiality is super important. We've seen the media completely ruin people's lives, and so I think we all realize how important it is to make sure that we are maintaining discretion in everything that we do.
As a social work major, I've been also learning a lot to also maintain confidentiality on my clients, on the clients that I will in the future work with. And I think that I've been also learning a lot that it is really important to protect people's like own privacy and lives. So.
I think similar to my last answer, I think understanding that you're representing thousands of other students as well. So your decision to gossip with your friends can have a negative impact on a lot of other people, not just yourself. So I think understanding that will definitely help me keep secrecy.
I plan on not discussing any work done in the election committee outside of the committee. And if there is anything that really needs to be said, I will discuss it with my peers or higher ups.
Like he said, I don't plan on talking about what we discuss in front of others.
Okay, thank you. I will listen.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to accept some form?
You're actually out of time now for Q&A. Sorry.
With that, we move on to a period of discussion debate. I ask you all step outside for us. Please. We'll start a period of discussion debate with the first race placard, Senator Malcolm.
I think that we all can agree that most of these candidates seem qualified. I think that all their responses were pretty valid, and I feel like they would represent us well. So I'd like to make a motion to move to the previous question.
Second.
All those in favor?
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? We move on to a period of voting. Alrighty. Senator Hill.
Madam Speaker, I motion to approve these candidates by unanimous consent.
Is there any dissent to that motion? Seeing none, these candidates are approved with unanimous consent.
Okay, so just repeat after me and raise your right hand. You ready? I state your name.
I, Barry Williams,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to defend and uphold
to defend and uphold
the rules and regulations
the rules and regulations
set forth by the Constitution
set forth by the Constitution
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University
and will rightfully perform
and will rightfully perform
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you. With that, we move on to executive reports. I ask anyone from the executive committee that has a report, please come down now.
Do you have a particular preference of which one first?
It doesn't matter.
Or is it-
Hey everyone, just got two important things today. Next week, we're gonna have our Ramride and BSOF outreach event. We've had two so far this year. It's up to you if you want to go, if you're in the student organization. The QR code's right there. Yeah, is there any questions about this event? If not, that's cool too. Okay, yeah, it's next Tuesday, 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. Okay, next one, which is a little, I mean, they're equally important, but this one's pretty cool. So we usually have the board ratified in like, I think this year it was like September or something like that. But we're trying to get a new board by the end of this year so we can fund events over summer and get events early. So, and we're really targeting senators right now because we think your voices are really valuable. So if you want to, scan that QR code and sign up, and I'll interview you, stuff like that. If you don't sign up today, I'm going to keep coming back and I'll get you to join. So, yeah, that's all from me. Any questions about joining? Okay, cool. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alex Silverhart. I am your vice president for the 2023-2024 year, and I use the he series of pronouns. Just a few things that I wanted to mention. I didn't even plan on being here tonight, but I forgot there's a bill that I helped write. So soon we will be, or I will be presenting the budget reallocation bill. We had kind of talked about this, I believe it was last meeting, if not the meeting before. And I'll talk about that bill later, but just put it on your radar. I did want to point out that I feel like the elections committee this year is extremely impressive. I'd just like to have a shout out for elections manager Spencer or Spencer's? Spencer. Listening to some of the responses of the election committee members as they've been ratified was extremely impressive. Specifically, Ben and Megan's responses to bias, I think were very honest and true. Bias shows up regardless of whether we want it to or not. And the fact that they were able to address that and talk about being able to remove themselves from that situation, I think is a really important perspective that we often kind of avoid when answering those questions or in those conversations. As a reminder, I know I talked about this after the State of the Association, but the Sweet Shop put on by the WGAC is next week. I bet the WGAC senators will talk about it as well. But we plan on being there, handing out some of the free pregnancy tests that we've offered for the past year. And to provide a little bit of background, the pregnancy test program started last year. At this event, we handed out 200 tests at that event alone. And since then, we've handed out 3,000 tests at the 4 different locations through our support of the Panhellenic and sororities on campus. So it's been a really successful program, and we're hoping to incorporate that into the offerings of crews, hopefully within the next month or so. Senator Pickerell's bill is on the floor tonight, which I think is extremely important. You've probably heard statistics like this before, but 1 in 4 female identifying individuals and about 1 in 26 male identifying individuals have experienced completed or attempted sexual assault. That's just a statistic from the CDC, and I think it's really important to remember these numbers when looking at bills like this, especially on a college campus where those numbers are probably much higher. So I am super excited to see that bill on the floor tonight and see what happens with it. Lastly, as a part of my role as the chair of SFRB, it is important that I come to every Senate meeting or have one of the representatives from the board come to every meeting and give a short update about what we're talking about. So this previous Monday, we heard from both the Adult Learners and Veteran Services Office, in addition to athletics, about the fees that they proposed for this year. ALVS did not propose a fee increase, given a multitude of different reasons, but they're able to take in any increases to salaries and such this year, which is great because it does a little more stress on students. On the other hand, athletics has asked for a $5 increase in order to pay off the debt of the softball and soccer stadiums. I will be sharing a survey link, hopefully within the next 10 minutes or so, and you're able to give your responses. To clarify, the survey is something that we can consider, we are not required to. As SFRB members, we sat through all of the fall meetings where they explained their fee areas, what they do for campus and what they plan on doing in the future. And this year we're sitting through those budget meetings every Monday night. So giving the survey out and having a student click yes or no on a budget increase, they haven't been through those meetings. They haven't had that experience. They haven't had that knowledge. However, given that we're a board of about 23 to 25 students any given week, that doesn't represent the entire student body. So we want to get as much perspective and knowledge as we can from all students available. Something interesting we have been doing this year is outreach. On Tuesday, one of our members led tabling efforts for 2 hours on the plaza. And then that night we went to a basketball game. And for the hour before the game started, we sat at a table and terrorized students and asked them how much they paid for getting into the games. Most students thought it was free. Technically, it's not, because we do pay a fee to athletics every semester. And it's already at $115. So please fill out that survey. Please share that survey with friends as well. I think we have about 50 responses between those two tabling efforts, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a good impact. So we want to continue that work moving forward. Lastly, this is more of like a personal note, but all honor students are required to do a thesis, and I'm doing my thesis on providing queer sex education to the greater Fort Collins area. So if you or any individuals that you know are interested in helping out with this project, please connect with me. I'm working with Splash NoCo, which is a nonprofit that works with queer youth aged up to, I think, 24. So we're hoping to fill the gaps that the current curriculum through the Blue Valley School District doesn't fill, and surrounding areas. For example, Weld County, I'm almost positive they don't offer any comprehensive sex education. And in Colorado, if you didn't know, it is not required for schools to offer comprehensive sex education. It's only required to either offer comprehensive sex education or no comprehensive sex education, which is better than abstinence only, but there's still a lot of gaps to fill. So if this is a potential interest of yours, please connect with me, or if you know friends that are interested in this, please connect with me. I'm sorry for taking up so much of your time, and I will be taking up more of your time later, but thank you all for being here, and I will see you in a little bit.
Hello, my name is Georgia White. I'm the Director of Health and Wellness, for anybody who doesn't know. If you guys know me, you're probably not surprised that Valentine's Day is one of my favorite holidays. And so I organized a little Valentine's Day exchange mailbox moment for you guys and us within ASCSU. You guys might notice there's some like brown paper bags on each side, or you might have them already. That has your bag and then a list of every person's name within Senate, including our front desk staff, since they attend a lot. So if you'd like to participate, you totally can. I just ask that you write a card for everybody on the list if you choose to participate. I am gonna make it easy on myself and do like, they're already little pre-made things, so I'm just gonna write everybody's names. You can also there's a bunch of free printable versions online, and I will send this list to you guys via Teams so that you can copy and paste to make it easier. So yeah, here's a little example of a bag. Make sure that you write your name, decorate it, put a little personality into it, and then bring your bag and your Valentine's next Senate, and we'll pass them out before Senate starts if you want to participate. So just want to spread the love a little bit. Thank you guys. And sorry, let me know if you don't have a bag and need one. I have extra lists, extra bags. I also try to be really intentional about making sure that everybody's name was spelled correctly on the list. So please let me know if your name's not on there or if it's spelled incorrectly, because I want to make sure that's right for y'all. Thanks.
Thank you. Next, we're moving on to judicial reports.
Okay, hello. So we haven't finished last week's opinion, which actually nobody sent us any groups. So you got an extra week. You got an extra week, and I encourage it. So I will repeat that opinion, so it's fresh. And I'll also put it in the Teams so everybody can visually see it, because I know it's hard to process things out of Twitter. But anyways, so first opinion sent by Senator Camber was sorry. Okay,
So is a position required to be approved by the elections manager to change the elections code? And also, or like basically, does the Senate have the power to change the elections code? And also, is Bill 5315 fiscally and otherwise accessible elections? If it is passed, will it need to be re-ratified in the spring? And also, if there are any special rules for amending the election code other than those already regarded in the Constitution. But yeah, I'll put that in the teams. Yeah, bring your briefs, because you all are affected by the election code changes a lot more than us on the court. Obviously, a lot of you are voted in positions, and the court is not. And so, yeah, I want your opinions. Anyways, we also voted to, y'all are just hitting us with opinions, but we have two other opinions too. Another one by Senator Camberg asks, are ASCSU documents / rules / regulations / policies applicable to all organizations that receive funding from ASCSU? And does ASCSU have the ability to self-govern? That is, to make its own rules and policies that only apply internally to the organization. Also put that in the teams. I would love you all's opinions on that. And then finally, the last opinion we accepted to take was from Senator Wilson. Says, asking, is it constitutional to allow current cabinet members on the elections committee? Basically, that's all it is. But yeah, those are the opinions. Yeah, I'll put it in the teams. Please, please, please send me briefs. We're gonna go over this officially next Tuesday. And outside of the opinion stuff, the court is gonna be at the Speed Dating Student Activism Expo next Wednesday. It's from 11:30 to 1:30 p.m. And the court's got a little table, and they're gonna be talking about like rights and all this stuff, and get like free candy and like little Valentine's gifts. So show up if you want to be there. It should be really cool. That's all I have.
Thank you. Next, we're going to move on to legislative reports. Any officers?
Just a reminder to go to committees because we've had a lot of legislation come through and there's the attendance is kind of low. So just a reminder, I'll send out the document with all like the committee times and all that into the teams, and I'll also send it to my desk for so they can send it into the weekly email so everyone has that. And also like the chair say it during Senate. So if you miss it during Senate, but it'll be in the teams tonight.
And adding on to that little point, attendance does matter, y'all. We can start sending out strikes and violations, and at some point you might not be sitting here. Sucks. Also, I have a test next week, next Wednesday, for the MS 300. I should be back, but in case I'm not, the speaker pro tempore will be starting, and I should be here before anything happens. So that's so much fun. I forgot something else I was going to say, but we'll move on. Is there any committee abstract?
Sorry, one last thing, because we have moved the legislative cabinet to Wednesday, make sure to submit any bills by Wednesday at the latest, but mostly Tuesday if possible.
Yes. We had to move so all of us could kind of have the same time. So now they happen on Wednesdays. And so I asked that the latest you send me legislation for the following week is probably Wednesday at 12. I'd rather have it Tuesday, but if you need that extra 12 hours of Wednesday morning, that is good. But if you send me anything past 12, it will not be on the weekly agenda. It won't be on the agenda for the coming up week. Is there any committee abstracts?
This week we saw the accessible elections bill, and that is still in internal committee. So if you want to come by and ask questions about that, maybe make any edits to that, go ahead and do that, because that's that come to committee and then yield. Oh wait, actually I don't yield. My committee is on Monday, 12 to 1. Now I yield.
Chair Osborne. And on my committee is Tuesday, 12 to 1. Sorry if there was a mix-up. But it's Tuesday, 12 to 1. Yesterday we saw the WGAC bill. We discussed it over with our slice accounting team. No problems with the bill whatsoever. We're all good for tonight. Thank you, Rachel. Chair Bakari.
That sounds so weird, sorry. Okay, so thank you all for attending tonight because I just posted on the teams the when to meet for the housing caucus. So if you're available, please enter your availability. I'm trying to see what works best for everyone. Currently, like what I've heard from like students and like other people in housing is like lunchtime is a good time. And we'll be working with like Evan Welch, Director of Housing, as well to get like food and snacks possibly. Thanks, Evan. But yeah, please fill out that when to meet. I'd love to have you all there. It doesn't matter if you're on campus, off campus, you probably live somewhere and your experience and is very much valued, especially as a senator too. We'd love to have you in the space. So thank you.
Thank you. Chair Frisky.
So I had a really bad diabetes day yesterday, so I was thinking of holding caucus, but then I didn't. And so I'm still trying to figure out a time, just with conflicting schedules. So that next week we will figure out a time to meet, and it might not be permanent. It might be. We don't know yet. So just be flexible with me. And also, I do want to elect a co-chair. So if you are interested in that, let me know so that we can make sure that you're at the next meeting. That's it. I yield my time.
We had a question. We were told that, like, for hours that the Women's Caucus didn't count. Does it count or does it not count?
I think for a while we were kind of going back and forth on that. And I think what we decided is that it can count as an office hour, which technically in all senator job descriptions, you need to fill out 5 office hours and associates you need to fill out 3, but they do not count as a committee hour. Okay. Any other committee abstracts? Moving on, we have senator and associate senator reports. Chairman Ati.
Hello. Once again, reminding y'all it's Black History Month. So BAC has a few upcoming events. For example, Real Talk is happening every Tuesday from 4 to 6 in the back office, 4 to 5. So that's going to be going down. We're going to be talking about a variety of different topics. Definitely show up. Free for y'all to. It's generally free because it's in the back office. And then on the 15th and 16th from 4 to 6 in collaboration with Pride the category is following. It's going to be held in the LSC Theater. And it's going to be a funky, cool little event where we learn about ballroom culture. So yeah, we got definitely famous people coming. So y'all should go. Y'all should definitely be there. All right, I yield.
Thank you, Associate Kemper.
Hey y'all, the School of Social Work has a group called Queer Umbrella. I think I've mentioned it before. This is a group, an affinity group, but also open to allies. They're hosting a movie night in conjunction with some other groups. That's tomorrow at 6 p.m. They're going to be hosting, they're going to be showing the movie Crush, which came out in 2022 in Education 105. I'm going to share that flyer out. And there's a QR code to scan to just stay updated on the event. So I would love to see y'all there. I'm not sure if I'm going to attend. The family life demands more of me than I care to admit. But whether or not you're a part of the queer community or you just want to show your support, this is a great way to build connections within the community, and especially between different groups on campus. So I just wanted to share that. And with that, I yield.
Thank you, Chair Frisky. Okay, so the WGSC, tomorrow's the last day that you can go in and make Valentines in the WGSC office.
As mentioned before, we are doing a sweet shop on February 13th from 6 to 7:30. It is in Braden Hall. We're gonna have all sorts of fun stuff. Some kits to learn how to do different experiences sexually, like getting wild in the woods. That is one of them. We also have our very special limited edition sticker because the WGSU is all about stickers. And it says horny as hell and still obtaining enthusiastic consent. So just come get the sticker, come stop by. It's gonna be nice. And then the 21st, we have love letters to survivors from 10 to 2 p.m. And there's just a lot of really good resources on the WJIC Instagram, so please go drop a follow. Also, we do have open spots for associate senators, so if you or someone you know is interested, please let us know and we will get you connected. Okay, I yield my time.
Thank you, Associate Rivera.
So we will be hosting two different events. So calling all Central, South American, and Caribbean folks. We will be hosting bi-weekly meetups. Our first meeting of the spring semester will be on Thursday, February 15th. This place is intended for students who identify as Central, South American, and Caribbean. We hope to see you there. And then do a full mentor program. We need more mentors for third and fifth grade students. Mentoring takes place every other Thursday from 2:45 to 4:30 p.m. starting the 8th of this month. If any more information, please contact us or Laura.
Okay, so Sammy and Senator Wilson are not here, so I'll be making the accessibility caucus report. We met on Monday and had an interview with CTV, which went super well, so stay tuned for that. We will be meeting this Monday at 4 p.m. in the LSC conference room. Next week, we will be presenting our end of semester report.
Is there any other reports at this time? Seeing none, we move into conference business. Parliamentarian for 2 hours on the conference call. We're going to be starting off with Bill 5312, this funding of WGA.
Howdy, y'all.
Because this was motioned on the agenda, we're going to have to read out all of the edits made from Budgetary Affairs Committee.
So that'd be great.
Just everything I think is appropriate.
No. So, sorry. We did have one version of the WGAC bill added to the agenda. So this is the one that is currently on. This is DEI and Internal Affairs. So the plan is for you to look at this, and if you approve all the changes here, and then we'll move on to the budgetary changes, which you will have to read in full, and we will move that into this document. If that is acceptable.
Chill with it. Looks good. Works for me. All right, so let's do the edits from budgetary. We go to the top.
This is DEI.
Do we do both?
You first have to approve of the edits
Oh.
for DEI and internal.
That works for me. I approve these edits.
And now we'll move on to the Budgetary Affairs edits.
All right, so adding sponsors and endorsements.
Yes, you'll have to read all of this.
Cool. So for sponsors, adding gonna get a little creative here. Nora, Pride Resource Center, budgetary chair. So removing chair of the budgetary committee to chair, comma, budgetary. Are these consistent? Could you scroll down a little bit? Okay, so those, I think, are consistent. Am I reading these wrong?
Yes, you're reading anything in blue.
Anything in blue, that's my bad. So, and then additionally adding Ashton Duffield, Director of Finance, Jake Nunley. Jakai, that's my bad, I'm so sorry. Jakai Nunley, Deputy Director of Health and Wellness, Claudia Parso. Preza? Okay, sorry, thank you. Speaker pro tempore, Enoch Lahanti, Senator Black and African American Culture Center, Chair Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for ASCSU. And so we are striking any mention of endowment. So the abstract now reads, this bill allocates $21,000 from the ASCSU Senate Discretionary Fund to the WGAC Non-Endowed Survivor Support Fund and the ongoing support of survivors of interpersonal violence.
So there is a difference here between the DEI and internal affairs.
Okay.
Which would you prefer? The DEI and internal affairs is also struck in non-endowed.
We can strike non-endowed.
Okay. Down.
Okay, and then, yep, striking the entire first clause. I think that's consistent across both.
Let's double check, I don't remember. Oh. There is a difference with internal, they struck several whereas clauses.
Yes.
Are you
Yeah,
still accepting that?
I accept all those strikes.
Okay.
Yeah.
They did not fully strike the
Okay. Yeah.
first therefore clause. Which would you prefer, to fully strike it or to include the first sentence?
To include this one of striking most of the first clause and part of the beginning of the second.
Okay.
And then also striking that this allocation ensures bringing the bringing the total amount up to 33,700 to ensure the long-term unbiased support of survivors. Yeah, I think that's correct. Sorry,
Okay.
thank you.
So there is again another difference here between the two bills. Which would you prefer? There is the one that strikes the total amount of the fund to 37 or 33,700 ensuring, and then there's the one that does not strike that part.
We should strike that part.
Okay.
Yeah.
That for now.
And then these records be shared with ASCSU and be sent to the Director and Deputy Director of Finance and the Budgetary Affairs Chair and the Director of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, the President of ASCSU and the Vice President of ASCSU, as well as both SLICE ASCSU's accounting departments. And I would like to take this version of this.
Okay.
Give everyone some kind of clarification of what's happening. This is what conference business, not conference business, conference committee looks like, where all the chairs come together and they sit and they talk about all the edits they made to bills and they discuss about which ones that go on the agenda. And normally this is what conference committee would be. But since this bill is motion to put on the agenda with a lot of edits, conference committee has to have it now.
Thanks for bearing with me on.
That should be all your edits. So if there's anything else you want to present, otherwise we'll just move on.
I think that's it.
so we're gonna start a period of discussion and debate for this bill with the first voice collector. Chairperson.
Hello, so, quite obviously, the WJAC enthusiastically supports this bill. I know the edits made, work with the WJAC, they work financially, so, there should not be a problem with it. I know that in my own personal life, I've seen a lot of the effects of, abuse, and, there are a lot of people that I know that I've worked with also at the WGAC who have gone through similar things. And the effects are devastating, and it's really, really important to be able to support survivors. So please vote for this bill. Thank you. I yield my time. Let's see. Next we have associate candidate.
Hello, y'all. I'm just gonna give you a trigger warning. If, I'm gonna speak to my own experience, if that's something that, you might trigger you, I would give you this moment to leave the room. I am 32 years old, and this isn't the first time I've attended college. And the first time around, I had to deal with, domestic abuse and sexual assault. I lived on campus, and so there was not really a great way to escape the interaction that I was forced to have with this person. I was not in any, it was a small college, we didn't have anything like this. It took a lot of effort on family and friends, to which I had to explain my entire story, disgusting details, just to get the support that I needed in order to not have to face that person every day. And this, among many other reasons, why I take many a political stance. But I would say that we are so blessed to even have anything like this on campus. And in the changing of times, the fact that we have created an environment where people can even have somewhere to go, can even talk about these things, the fact that I'm even talking about it to you all now, says that we've come a long way. And I'd like to see that be fostered, not just for the time that we're here on campus, but for generations that follow. So I will be voting yes, and I would encourage you all to do the same. Thank you. Also, don't Title IX me. It was enough years ago that, and it was handled on that campus through Title IX at the time. So thank you.
Thank you, Next we have Senator Davis.
Kind of just reiterating what Olivia said, this is such an important issue, and I mean, I am in full support, as is the Women in Gender Advocacy Center. And we encourage everyone else to be in support as well. I mean, you guys can see just how many endorsements there are, how important this issue is. And I understand that some people might be concerned about the like non-endowment, or that it's like not as safe, but any sort of help is more than we could ask for. So any sort of help would do like immense good. So I encourage all of you to vote yes on this.
Thank you. Next we have Chair Oslam. Yeah, that's not the right thing. So I did some quick math. If this bill passes through as is with the full $21,000, including the calculated total from the fees off bill allocation, we will have $44,500 left, which is more than enough to get through the semester, in my opinion. I'm not a professional though, so don't take me at my word. However, I do believe this bill is incredibly important to our CSU students and our CSU student body. And we do our best to represent them. And this is something that doesn't have any divisions between, oh, it doesn't apply to me because I'm the senator for the College of Liberal Arts and not a senator for the WGAC, because the students who are getting affected by interpersonal violence are all over our campus. And this is part of our responsibility is to represent those students as well. And I know for a fact the Pride Resource Center is fully behind this bill, and I will be voting in accordance to that too. Thank you. So Chairman Alty.
So just to start this off, and then y'all know I'm voting yes, wholeheartedly with my heart, soul, mind, and body. This bill is something that when it was first senior budget committee, I was 100% behind because it was a bill that I believe definitely needed. A bill that I feel would save lives and would be the most direct way for the Senate to show that we actually care about the students on this campus. And with that, I fully had 100% faith in it. I even recently moved down from a sponsor to an endorser because I'm just that certain of this bill. And I highly encourage the rest of y'all to vote yes, because I definitely know this would help thousands of students in all of our constituencies. And then I will my time.
Thank you. Next we have Chair Bouchard.
How do y'all? I'm also in support of this bill. I just want to make it known in internal affairs with Chair Hayden Taylor. We did also add a small part that said like, yes, they'll get the $21,000 over the course of 5 years. And it's like on a rolling basis, right? So each year, if you divide 21,000 by 5, that's 4,200, if I'm saying that correctly. And they'll get that each year. If they exceed that, they'll pull from other years and the balance will be adjusted. If they don't use that, it rolls over to the next years. So we're not losing a ton of money as it may seem with this bill. It's being funneled accordingly. And we do this through sunset clauses, which is very important for like if you're doing more bills. So I encourage you to attend committees and caucuses so we can add more changes like this that benefit the whole.
Point of, no, you're fine. Point of clarification. We will still be putting aside the full $21,000, otherwise it will mess with our fund balance. So even if we do go through, I don't know which copy of the bill we have right now, but if it is the 4,200, we would still need to set aside the full lump sum of the 21,000 from this current year's budget into our fund balance, which would then be earmarked to go to the WGAC. It would still be 44,500 in the total because otherwise our accounting gets really messed up.
It should be the combined, as I just combined it now.
Okay.
So this should be the final, what I will be sending to Nick if this passes.
So, all right, but it will be the full lump sum amount, the 21,000.
Can I get out of it? Can I get out of it?
I have a question in that case, for Chair Aslan. And with general everybody, would in this case, it be more what if we got rid of the clause that since we're losing the lump sum, losing is not the right word, since we're giving the lump sum no matter what, tonight or in the coming weeks, would it be all the same to, instead of like saying, hey, this is like a limit, but you can go over, would it be worth it to just give the $21,000 outright and make that edit? Or a general question. I don't know if I'm allowed to ask general questions.
You can also just decide yourself since you're the author.
I'll ask. I'll let people give their opinion.
So we'll do a subcategory of our speakers list for this question, if anyone has any opinions. Cissy Camper.
I think what I'm understanding, what you're asking, it's allocating the 21,000 this year right now and just stating that y'all will try not to exceed a set amount per year so that this money will last. That's what I read and how I understand it. If there's some aspect to that that is not that clear, or that isn't the case, I would love further clarification, but I can absolutely either way support, the sunset clause being after X amount, 5 years, right? Yeah. Yeah, that seems to all make perfect sense to me, so I hope that helps.
Thank you. Next we have Chair Oswald. From a purely accounting standpoint, not really, it's not gonna change anything. All that it would change is that if we are doing like yearly installments where 21,000 is set aside in our fund balance, we retain authority over those 21,000 until the WGAC, until each year the WGAC comes out, they would still have to send out the yearly information updates for our accounting records and stuff like that. The only main difference is 21,000
as a lump sum getting sent over, it's still gonna be a loss of 21,000 on our part. It just passes from the authority of the ASCSU fund balance into the authority of the WGAC. Now, the WGAC, once it goes into the WGAC's account, we have no, like, we don't touch it. We just need the accounting records because it's coming from ASCSU. So we could ask with our biggest hearts, the WGAC does not exceed 4,200 each year unless they absolutely have to. But again, once we secede the authority over to the WGAC of the funds, it is in their hands. We don't have any right to it. We just need their accounting records, and they're more than willing to give us that. Thank you, I yield. Thank you. Next, we have Chair Christie.
So the WGAC, just to put it frankly, just wants the money. So however that we decide that that would be most useful, whether it is the sunset clause or just a lump sum, is we can work with it either way. I will just say that I do have the utmost confidence in the people that do run the Survivor Fund, that they don't just throw this money around lightly. They definitely make sure it's going to where it needs to go. So it's up to this body to decide, but either way, we would be okay.
Thank you. Sarah Milkline.
Given that they can pull money from next year if WGC needs more money, adding the 5-year increment seems like an extra burdensome level of bureaucracy that I don't think should be a part of this bill. WGAC already has the Survivor Fund, already runs it efficiently, and I don't think we need this bureaucracy. I yield.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to answer this question? Great. Also to add, at a later date, if this bill passes the way it is, it can be changed. You can change the sunset clause and you can literally write it and say WGAC gets the rest of what they're allocated to. So this could be changed in the 54 Senate to say that WGAC gets the rest. But sorry, Senator, do you have a decision?
I think I'd like to take that part out because it will end up in their account either way. And it ends up in their account in lump sum because of the way that the financials do, and it will end up in their lump sum this year. And so I think, like Chair Osmond said, it just kind of says, hey, please don't spend more than that, but if you need to, go for it. So is that okay to take out? Is that possible? Perfect. Thanks.
Great. We'll move on to the next person on our speakers list because we still have to go back to the original discussion.
Sorry, madam.
No, you're good. We have Chair Taylor.
I guess I have a couple of hesitations with this bill, and mostly that's that we don't have any idea what the money is going to be spent on, and so to give such a big sum of money to somebody with basically no limits on that, I think is a bit of an issue. Typically, we've seen some kind of like line item budgets just showing some kinds of things that money would be spent on. So that's just kind of an issue that I've seen with that, is that we would have no, I guess, accountability with that, and we have no idea what the money will be used on. Additionally, the intent behind the 21,000 was to put that into an endowment. And so then if that's not going to be the case, I don't know why it still needs to be the 21,000. All of that said, I think that this is going to a good cause. And so I think I'm still going to vote yes on this bill just because of that, because this will be benefiting students on campus. And that's ultimately why we have something like ASCSU, is to benefit the students of this campus. But I just wanted to put out a couple of those, I guess, hesitations of mine. But additionally, just want to say that I think I'm going to vote yes on this.
I think those are some really valid concerns. As terms for like line items, I can't respond. I won't respond. No response.
Associate Campbell.
Well, first of all, I thought I was on the endorsed list, so if you could go ahead and put me on the endorsed list, I would very much appreciate that. To speak to a little bit of what, Chair Taylor brought up, we do have, what is built into this is a reporting system. A lot of it has to do with confidentiality, and that's why, we had been given in previous, presentations of this, some examples of like the types of things, but due to the sensitive nature of what this entails, there is built into this a reporting system that ASCSU will be looking over what this money is spent on, going forward. So that is built into it. I just want to like put some minds at ease there, and yes, you're spelling it correctly. Good job. Yeah, and that's all. I yield.
Chair Frisky.
So just to also answer a little bit, with that, so, a lot of times, with these kind of situations, there's no cookie cutter way to address it. So for each different survivor, there's a different needs and different, wishes. And so it can be anything from rent to, needing new clothes because they had to give their clothes over to, the police department. There's just, it's very hard to, constrict what needs to be given. But I do understand that it's a lot of money to just give to someone. So I understand that those concerns. But also I do know that the people at the WJC are really committed to survivors, and they would give the money where it needs to go, and it wouldn't go anywhere else. Okay. Do you want to answer anything more? Okay, I yield my time.
Thank you. Next we have Senator Yankowski.
Hi, I should also be on the endorsed list, and I'm not. However, I should also be on there as the Warner College Council president, in addition to my ASCSU title. I just wanted to note that myself, fellow members of Warner College Council, and a large majority of the Warner College student body all are in favor of this bill. There are a lot of people who will benefit greatly from it. And yeah, yield my time.
Thank you. Next we have Senator Davis.
I do actually have a question now. So if we can go back to where we got rid of the, like, talking about the 5 years. I'm sorry. Are we also keeping the last sentence that says any unspent funds go back to Senate discretionary in 2029, since we're not going over that 5 years now?
I believe a sunset clause is required to be held. If you'd like to change the date of that sunset clause, that is fine, but I do believe that sentence needs to be there in its some form.
Point of order. Are we Q&A or discussion and debate?
This is
discussion and debate.
I yield.
Great. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak as Vice President Silverheart?
Hello, everyone. As I said in my report, I am in full support of this bill, including the portion that was deleted. I think it's really cool, and not necessarily necessary, but I think it's really cool to be able to see people coming back that this bill is benefiting from, to report on kind of what it has done for the student body. How many people can list a bill that was passed last year that involved money? So a few people in the room, and I know there's at least a few more people than that were in Senate last year. The B bill is an example. That was, I think, one of the first bills that was passed in Senate last year. And I was able to connect with the president of the Aviary Club at the beginning, I think, of last semester, and they were talking about actually using those funds. But I don't think anyone else in Senate had that interaction, so we have no idea what that money is being used for. So I think it's nice that it's divided up over the years so it can have consistent.
still getting reported. But at the same time, I don't know, I think it's nice to have it over the years so it can kind of have consistent impact on people. As much as I would like to put as much money towards the WGAC, that's just not a possibility. I'm looking at what limitations we're gonna have on tuition increases and investment from the state next year. It's not gonna look great. So who knows how much we'll be able to invest if all of that 21,000 is used next year. So I think there is something to say about keeping that portion in there. And I also know the amount of work that Senator Pickerel and also Chair Osborne have put into the bill, specifically that portion. I think it was really thought out. So I would just ask to potentially reconsider that change. Thank you.
I think putting the sunset clause that far out kind of implies that the money needs to get spread out over time. I would hate to be too limiting. I think that ultimately, if they're needing more, and it's written in there that they could use more regardless, that it seems kind of redundant to say that, like, we're putting a sunset clause on a 5-year limit, and you know, if they need more 1 year or use less the next year, that we're flexible, but we are putting a date on it and saying we want this money to be spread out over that amount of time. I don't know necessarily if it needs to be written, if the sunset clauses push that out, that far out, that we need to say X amount each year. Just try not to spend it all at once, WGAC. That's kind of the feel that I'm getting from that. And that's all that I wanted to contribute.
Thank you, Chair Christie. I just have a point of inquiry. Can we do I don't know what to call it, because in like Model UN, it was a straw poll vote, where it's like, it's not a real vote, but it's like seeing where people's minds are at, if we wanted to do that as far as. Parker says it's a sense vote. Oh, okay. You can explain it better than I can.
I'll explain it.
Yes, we can. I'm just gonna move this on.
Then I don't know how to do this officially, but well, wait, I was gonna ask. Do you want to do like to help gauge for your own sake? Sure. Okay. I motion for a sense vote regarding the sunset clause in the bill.
Yeah.
Can I rephrase?
Yeah.
Can we move to do a sense vote of whether or not the so stricken 21,000 over 5 years in increments, blah, 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 should remain or should be stricken?
Yes.
Great. This is such a weird process. We've never done this.
It's over 5 minutes, 5 seconds.
Well, we will first move to a period of voting because we're done with discussion in 5 seconds, probably now. So moving into a period of voting, we'll start with the sense vote.
If you're in favor of this edit, please raise your placard.
In favor of keeping it, or the edit that it's stricken?
The edit that is stricken, I guess. I don't know what,
Okay.
you're the one who made the motion.
So-
Are you in favor of the motion you made?
Are you, I think that we're gonna start with this. Raise your placards if you would like to keep this therefore clause how it is currently, with it just having all the funds allocated to WGC at once. Raise your placards right now.
Can I have, I'm so sorry, the point of clarification, as it's written, it is crossed out. So are we
Yes.
looking at just the last sentence, in favor of just the last sentence? Okay, cool.
Oh, yeah, you're so right. Associates can vote because this isn't. Um, You put your pockets down.
Now raise your placards if you can live with the change as, or it as is.
To revert, or would want to. Well, then we just did the first vote wrong.
No, it's both. It's first, do you approve? Then it's can you live with? And then it's do you disagree?
Let's just get rid of it. Let's just get rid of it. Let's just put it back.
So we'll start this vote over again because obviously the first one was wrong.
What the first vote was
No.
Point of clarification, can we have Parker explain that a little more, please?
I tried to have him explain. He said no.
Okay, fine, I will explain it. So the Sims vote goes like this. Beginning, you'll be asked, do you approve of whatever you're voting on? Then you'll be with, even if it is not exactly what you love, but can you live with it? Can you still accept that it is that way? Then finally it is, do you disagree with it entirely? Yeah. So now we'll be moving into, can you live with it being any unspent funds by December 31st, 2029 will be returned to that, or can you not live with that? Raise your placards if you can live with it.
Please hold your placards up because the three of us got three different numbers. Wow. Great. Now I can put your placards down. Thank you.
Now, if you cannot live with this change and you want it reverted back to its original form, please raise your placards now.
Actually, strike me from the last one. I get it.
Great. Y'all could put your placards down. It is. Okay. So there was a vote of 9 to 9 to 4. In total, it's an 18 to 4. So we're gonna leave it, I guess. Say that again. Yes. But in the sense, I guess in the sense of the Senate, they would be in favor of keeping the change.
Keeping the change. So it doesn't change.
Yes.
You only have the power to change
I
it.
just want to make sure I understand what they wanted.
18 out of 18
Can I have a
people
point of
want to keep
clarification?
it.
The sense vote is not a vote on necessarily changing it. It's just to gauge the thoughts of the room, correct? And that it is ultimately in the hands of the author. Okay. I yield.
Keep it. If they're fine with it, keep it.
Great. We're gonna continue on to our period of voting. We are voting to pass this. Chairman Nati,
Motion to pass this with unanimous consent.
is there any dissent? Hearing none, this bill is passed with unanimous consent. What was the toughest bill we dealt with? And it wasn't even tough. I love this. Moving on into new business, we have Bill 5315, term limits.
I'm also so sorry. I feel like I opened a huge can of worms with that.
You're fine. little bit of spice during our Wednesday nights. Yes, this I know.
Thank you.
Can I use the?
And the one that doesn't, stop failing.
Oh, there we go.
It takes forever.
Okay, y'all. For those who don't know me, I am Associate Senator Canberg for the Adult Learners and Veterans Services Office. You might have figured out I tend to like to do things a little unorthodox. So I'm just going to clarify how we're going to run through this. First, I need to do a little housekeeping and clarify a couple of things. Then I'm going to talk about why this is here and what the motivation behind it is. Then I'm going to go through the arguments for why we need this and probably go through bit by bit. I think that those two can kind of be done in one. Then I'm going to make some arguments against this to bring forth some of the counter arguments, which is why I'm ultimately going to be pulling this and talk about why we're still talking about it, even though it's getting pulled. So first point of clarification that I really want to make is a concern that I know has really only been kind of whispered about. I just need to make this really, really clear because it would be a huge conflict of interest. I am not running for any elected seat. And I can really understand why that would be a huge concern, bringing something like this forward. So I just, first of all, want to make that clarification. Let's see, second of all, I'll get into a little bit why I think this is important. I've noticed in this organization, there's definitely some division. I think that who here has worked a shitty job, like a restaurant job or a retail job? Okay, so you understand the feeling of the day shift is like, everything's the night shift's fault. The night shift says everything's the day shift's fault. I think we have that going on in this organization. I think we have some real division between our legislative and our executive branches. And one of the things that I realize might be adding to this, and not to say the Senate is not without fault because we have our flaws as well, is that there appears to be an inequity of power in this organization. We have paid positions, we have a concentration of power of who gets to decide who are in those positions, and that partially divides the space. So one of the things I started to think about is, okay, well, how can we decentralize that executive power and make the power dynamic more equal in the space? I'm not saying this is necessarily the answer, which is why I've ultimately decided to pull this bill. But I think it's really, really important that we start dialoguing about that power imbalance, how we can ethically move forward if we do see multiple someone hold multiple positions of the same position, multiple terms of the same position. How can we ethically do that? How can we make sure that the power dynamics within this organization are fair and equally spread out? And most of all, how can we collaborate moving forward? So that's sort of where this is coming from. Okay, I'm gonna take a deep breath for a second because I feel like I'm gonna miss some things if I don't. Okay, so ultimately that's what's kind of motivating this. So the first thing I wanted to consider is the decentralization of our executive power. Executive is amazing, our judicial is amazing, our Senate's amazing, but we do have some things that we could be working on. And one of the things that I'm concerned about within this organization is that just a couple of people get to have a say in all the positions in a branch. Our executive elected positions essentially appoint all the other executive positions. So I have some ethical concerns about what an incumbency or even a spread out second term of a same position could potentially do to our organization and not maybe necessarily serve the students in their best interest. That's one of the first things. Let's see.
Scroll down.
Yes, let me scroll just a little bit. It's also really important that these roles change because we don't necessarily need the same ideas, the same people, the same cliques to hold an entire branch. It's really important for plurality in this space because not only does every year our constituency change just as much as our organization does, it does a disservice to our students if we're not having multiple voices, multiple ideologies in the space. Let's go down just a little bit more. Here is the big thing that I want to drive home. This organization, any student governing organization, is centered around democracy, and that's really important. But it is also unique in that this organization also serves for professional and personal development and growth and educational opportunity. The reason why we have limitations on how elections can be run and who can run and things like that, why it's not a free-for-all like our regular political system where anyone can raise the most amount of money, defame each other, it's a gloves off sort of free-for-all. The reason why that doesn't happen here is because we do need this to be accessible to all, we need it to be a safe space, and we need it to grow and learn. It's bigger than just a regular democratic process. It's a yes and, it's an educational opportunity, and it makes the function of this organization just a little bit different than our regular government. Let's see. Okay, that's good. I talked a little bit about plurality. I think I used the word power hoarding. This original document, which by the way, I need to make a small edit up at the top. The original authors would like to be removed from this current iteration. They don't have anything to do with this. But I don't believe in plagiarism. So I wanted to make sure that it's known that this was introduced last year. This is not a new concept. It might be controversial, but it's not new. The words used prior were even more cringy than power hoarding, but that is the word that you would use in social justice education. So that's what I'm using here. Having to do with that plurality. If one or more persons hold the same role, they're taking that opportunity away from others who could gain from it. We've also, another thing mentioned, brought to my attention, was the idea of mentorship within an organization. How it's important that these roles be handed off to others, and also both for the benefit, but also the detriment of the organization. If one person holds a position of power for too long, they may have the opportunity to mentor, but they may also stand to gain more than someone new taking that position could gain. Let's see. I would say that when you put the need of yourself and maintaining your position and holding a powerful title above the needs of the student or the organization that you serve, I would say that's kind of self-serving. And we have only had one other time in history where we have had a position held by the same person twice. There's not a lot of data behind that. But I would argue that for a person to say that they are so good at their job, that they should take that opportunity away from someone else, is to say that they are better than every single person who's come before them who has relinquished that position for the educational and professional growth opportunities and for the plurality of the organization. I think within this space, because there is an inequity of power, it's really important that we have those systems of checks and balances. And I don't know necessarily that that is the case. We already have term limits in our federal government, that's mentioned there too. Let's keep scrolling. There was a deviation from the original edit was to add per position, so that it's not saying you can't hold multiple roles in executive leadership, but just that those roles change. And that's really important because if you truly serve the organization, you will do whatever job needs to be done, whatever is asked of you by your student body. And I think that just because it's easier to retain a role does not serve the benefit of the organization or the students as a whole. I think that's kind of lazy personally. Okay, so that's kind of just going over a general, I know I'm missing things, but I'm a little nervous and we have some other things to talk about too. So one of the arguments. Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I taught, yeah. So then we're moving to question and answer. Okay.
Gonna open a tab of question and answer. The first reflected will start with Senator Hill.
Thank you. Thank you, Associate Senator, for speaking before us. I appreciate your insight on this. First question I have a few questions. You are aware that Senate legislative branch does have a lot of power over executives, such as we do have the power to either, what is that noise from the mic? Madam Speaker, I think your mic's off. Okay, let's try that. No, that didn't help. Or I'm gonna try to speak. Okay. And we do have the power to either appoint or, I'm gonna use this mic. Sorry, is that better? Sorry, we do have the power to either appoint or either confirm or non-confirm executive branch. And also, we also have in the Constitution the right to pass a legislative order binding the executive branch to practically anything, right? And so we do have a lot of power, even though we're volunteer positions. So you are aware of that, correct?
Your question is that I'm aware and I have concern that the ratification process, when we're talking about positions that do a lot of administrative work day to day, make a lot of decisions and get paid an hourly wage, that we are made to decide, we are brought forth a candidate and we decide whether they are competent enough to do the job. I would hope that anyone who applies is at least competent enough to do the job. I think it would be really hard for us to find someone where we're like, absolutely, we cannot let that person do that job. They cannot fulfill their duties. And so I know that we've had some, ASCSU was presented with what are fair and legal hiring practices. And I know that some of those were ignored. And so I do have concern that we don't have the ability to really check that other than to say no to a candidate. And I think that we'd be hard pressed to find a reason to say no, because we're not even looking, the person brought forth is likely, I would hope they'd be competent before they'd even apply. But that doesn't give us the opportunity to have a say in who fills those positions. Was there someone who was more qualified that we didn't get a chance to see?
Have you discussed any of these, concerns with executive?
Yes, actually, I'm really, really proud of the amount of response that I've gotten back. I was actually really worried that by just proposing a controversial idea that would immediately alienate people, and I actually got more response than I really expected. Some of the big concerns were a 2-year term limit was kind of brought forth. We talked a lot about Senate term limits. What's the other one? There was a third big concern that we got a lot of feedback on. But yes, I've gotten more feedback on this piece of legislation than probably anything else discussed in this space.
That's great. Another parliamentary, what's my time?
You still have another 2 minutes.
Thank you. Now 1 minute and 58 seconds. Okay. Also, do you not agree, if we're having a discussion for the purposes, is that perhaps running for re-election is a good motivator for an incumbent to do good, and should it be up to the students to decide how many times they get? For example, if, let's say, a President A runs up for election, they did a bad job their first term, and the students get to decide, no, we don't want him to come back. Why shouldn't it be up to the voters to decide that for incumbency?
That is a really good question. Okay, so first of all, it incentivizes someone to do a really good job their first term, but it de-incentivizes them to do a really good job the second time around. They're working to get elected a second time, and once they're in office a second time, they have no obligation to do as good of a job as they did the first time. So there's that to think about. So part of the reason why I'm pulling this is it doesn't really get to the root of the issue, which is how do we, not that we shouldn't, but how do we ethically allow someone who has a position of privilege and power seek to reaffirm that position in a way that doesn't use either ASCSU resources or unethically use their position overall to gain a second term. And that's the real conversation. Now, I have thought about, and this is part of why this is being pulled, because this is not I don't think this is the best way to go about. And the reason why we're doing this is to open up this dialogue and have these discussions. I think a better way to do that would be a petition process that would allow students to say, I support this person, not I support them running, because you could make anyone would say, yeah, of course I want to see all the candidates, but to have a certain percentage of people say, I support this candidate, I think that's a better way to do it. But we should really be thinking about how do we do this ethically.
We're now out of time for Kyle Hill's question.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, you.
Thank you. Next we have Chair Brisky.
Hi, so just to clarify, are you reworking this bill or is it just being pulled completely?
I don't think that we could, I don't know if we could rework this. I'm gonna pull it, but I wanna start beginning these dialogues of how we move forward as an organization and to be thinking about these things now while they're in the theoretical before it becomes a later personal situation.
Okay, I yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Senator Reese.
Howdy. Can I ask a question for someone that isn't the author? Is that allowed? Is it? Yeah. Alex Silverheart, I was wondering if you could speak on what the hiring process was in terms of like their hiring processes and what we could probably like maybe mandate in the future.
Wonderful question. Am I okay to answer that question? So in terms of the hiring process, we did have a preliminary training. I think it was about an hour and a half with the Office of Inclusive Excellence about equity in job hiring. And so Nick and I received all of the applications for all the positions, sat down, looked through them, primarily just looked at experience. And I would say kind of an oversight, not necessarily a mistake because we didn't know. We didn't like redact their names or anything like that. In recent hiring processes we have because we've been given suggestions on how to do that. But we looked through all of them, primarily looked at experience and what we feel like they could bring to the organization. There was a strong recommendation during the training to not use the words fit because people don't really fit a position. And so we interviewed, I want to say we interviewed everyone that applied that signed up for an interview. Since then, we have not done that because it takes a very long time. I think there were 50 plus, maybe even 60, 70 plus people that applied. Not everyone signed up for interviews, but those were a very long 2 weeks. And we also sat down with the advisors when we had advisors, and they kind of helped talk us through a lot of the training that OEI had done for us. So there were multiple points where we had advisorship in terms of hiring people because I have never hired someone into a lead job before, and neither has Nick, and probably neither have many of the 25,000 students that have gone here. So it is a difficult position, but there were many things in place that allowed like that to be equitable. I'd also like to just point out two kind of points of clarification. I don't know if let's consider that. But we had people on our campaign team that applied that did not get positions. We also offered a position to someone that was campaigning against us. So when we're talking about fairness when it comes to job hiring, I just wanted to point out those 2 points because I think it's important and I think it shows the time, effort, and thought that went into that process. And I can't speak for other administrations or such. I can only speak for this one.
Thank you. Do you think that, having done it before, that any of these things could be like solidified in any form of legislation in the future in terms of what y'all did?
I think there's a lot of potential to work with the Office of Inclusive Excellence and potentially the School of Social Work to make requirements such as redacting. We can work with the front desk to do that so we don't have names. It is beneficial for us to have graduation like years so we know how long they can be in the organization. But I think there's a lot of things that could be solidified a little more that haven't been done previously when it comes to hiring exec. And I think besides exec and judicial, those are really the only positions in which we're hiring people in paid positions. Everything else is elected.
In a sense, because like all chairs are elected as well, and that's still a paid position.
And the rest of your legislative.
And
cabinet.
yeah,
Yeah,
all of legislative cabinet is paid except for caucus chairs.
but they're elected.
True.
Yeah, so, yeah, I think those are definitely things that can be applied, because I think the ratification process is fine, but I know people have a lot of questions to ask and no one wants to stay here the entire night. So that's why kind of the SFRB process was so streamlined, because it was 25 people at that time. We, as much as we'd love to, we don't have the time to sit down and do that. So I think focusing more on the hiring process and what that can look like and what can be, I guess, mandated from the people that are elected into these positions, I think that's a really good consideration. And I think that would be a great thing to bring on the floor. And I would love to collaborate with whoever decides to take initiative on that. So thank you for that.
We are
question.
now out of time in question and answer.
That's very fun. If there is no motions, then this bill gets pulled and we move on to the next. Chair Christie.
Point of inquiry, how many people are on the speakers list?
7.
I'm gonna turn my mic off.
Fair. Great. We'll move on to the next piece of legislation unless you have anything else to add.
Email me. Let's talk. Let's start the dialogue.
Thank you. Next, we move on to, I think, the budget allocation, which is correctly labeled 5316.
I planned on being at the gym at 7:30 with my boyfriend tonight, and that's not happening, but it's okay. Yeah, so we've got this bill that was written by Nick DeSalvo. I didn't write a single word on here, but I did advise him in terms of taking in the information that Senate provided us and putting it into the bill and deciding on what things are going to be funded. So just running through it real quick, if you don't mind scrolling down. Oh, you went way too far. Okay, cool. So we transferred $5,500 into traditions and programming discretionary programs to assist in funding the 2024 Revival Rail Jam. I know we got a lot of response in terms of sustainability of this event. This is something that Nick and I both ran on, and this is something that students really enjoyed and voted us into office for. So if we're trying to listen to the student body in terms of what they want, I think that was part of the reason why we wanted to invest money here. Also, we do have our Deputy of Sustainability, Sophia Hiller. I think that's her last name. She is part of that committee, and so her primary role is looking into the sustainability of this event and what we can do to further the sustainability. I didn't say what I already said.
Yeah, just a quick update on the sustainability aspect of it. In our meeting about this event, like an hour ago, we decided to look at the option of funding a sustainability fund for this, where we will pay to plant trees that kind of like offset the footprint of this event. So that's a little new information. Yield back.
Granted, things don't really balance out in that way. That is only an effort that we're trying to explore. So, but yeah, given like we've been working with the biggest student organization on campus, Snow Riders, on this event. This has been something that's been in the works for months. And I'd also like to point out that I know that our director of traditions, Maron, has been here multiple times, not only this semester, but last, to talk about this event and to gather more support and input. And so just a little kind of point of recommendation for the future. We would love to hear this input early on because there's been so much work that's already been put into this event by multiple different student organizations and dozens of students. So I just like to point that out. The next item on the list is the $5,000 dedicated to funding the 2024 drag show. This is just kind of our commitment, once again, to tradition. This has been the third year it'll be running after COVID and the hiatus that it did take. I think this is a wonderful event. I've been helping with the planning since it started again in, I want to say 2021. It's a fantastic event. I think this money will be well spent, not only by ASCSU, but the Pride Center supporting such a large community in Fort Collins and across Colorado. It's considered one of the largest drag shows in Colorado, if not the largest. The next item is putting $5,500 into the BSOF line item. So I know there was a decrease in the BSOF bill for $5,500. So this is where that's coming from, because we wanted to leave as much money in the Senate discretionary as we could. And so we were able to find this area where we could pull funds and reallocate to the many wonderful events that BSOF is putting on this semester. Next we have the end of the year food truck event, $4,000 going towards that. That is something we did at the end of last year. And it was extremely successful, probably one of the most successful events that we had. And like, who doesn't like a free food truck? It was a really great event, especially to have at the end of the semester, because not only does it act as an opportunity for students to get free food, but it's also kind of a de-stressor event. We're hosting this in collaboration with the back office. And so it was a fantastic event, allowed students to really kind of relax after a tough week of finals. And get ready for the summer. $1,500 will be transferred into a line item to fund Rams Against Hunger. So this is something I strongly advocated for. This wasn't in the original bill, but after I read through it, I'm like, this is the strongest response we hear from Senate is to support Rams Against Hunger and to support the efforts that not only them, but our Department of Health is doing. Thank you. They're doing great work and they have a lot of great plans for this semester, specifically about destigmatizing the use of the food pantry. So that is something I wanted to make sure that was in there, given the tireless amount of work that Director White has put into that, in addition to a lot of other members of ASCSU. $750 will be put into a line item to assist in the funding of the pom-pom suit. It started off as a joke, but it's actually something that I think will be really useful. If you've ever tabled for ASCSU before, it's not the easiest thing to do. People will see that green tablecloth and then beeline for the computer science building and walk along that way just to avoid us, which I totally get. But could you imagine Derek Newberger or myself or Ashton wearing that suit, tabling, talking about student fees or BSOF? We're the first three in line to wear the suit. Wear it, thank you. But I sat down with Derek actually right before Senate tonight, and he had a whole list of exactly what he wanted to purchase to buy this suit. And he also put in extra pom-poms to go on the suit in order to keep it a sustainable marketing campaign for years to come. $500 shall be transferred to a line item to assist in funding the Purify initiative. This is something that our newly hired and ratified Deputy of Health, Jakai, is working on. He worked on it tirelessly, use that word twice now, over winter break, and he put a lot of thought and effort into it. I don't know if you have anything to clarify about university policy. I'll hand it over to him for just a moment.
As it relates to university policy, there was a email sent out to all resident directors and upper housing as well to schedule meetings with them about their individual policies or preferences for their residence halls and how they want that to be operated, because I do understand that there should be a certain level of regard and respect given to the individual preference of those residence directors. On the general housing and dining site, though, it is stated, and this was in the email sent to the directors and upper housing who are CC'd on all of those emails. But stated on the residence housing site, it says if you are allergic to indoor allergens and can't control the source of the problem, it may help to use an air purifier. Those devices in particular, ionic air purifiers, can help capture some of the irritants that may trigger your symptoms. It goes into basically kind of promoting this, or not necessarily promoting, but it's not really against it or saying that it's not something that you can't have in the dorm. So that is something that does exist right now. If you would like to see that, I'm open to share that. I'm open to share also the emails that I have sent to resident housing. So all of that is available upon request.
And I know with the newly formed housing caucus, I think this would be something kind of in line with that to benefit the housing situation of students on campus. I was first year in university honors, which had very good resources. And then the next 2 years, I was an RA in Corbett, which did not have nearly the amount of resources and nearly the amount of nice air that we had in honors. So just something to consider, given the initiatives and things that you all are pushing forward. And then lastly, $250 shall be transferred to a line item to assist in funding an inaugural legislator award. And this is kind of in connection to all the work that LSAB and our Department of Governmental Affairs have been doing this year. We've been working very closely with a lot of different legislators in the area and in the state that have done a lot of good work for students and continue to do a lot of good work for students. The bill regarding the textbook tax will be on the House floor tomorrow while we are at the day at the Capitol, which I think is really cool. And so we want to set aside money to make an award, like a plaque and some sort of gift to give out to a legislator that has done a lot of good work with the student body, because this is something that we haven't really seen before within our organization. Is such a close relationship between legislators and not just the ASCSU president, but multiple members of ASCSU. So with that, that totals the amount of money we are wanting to reallocate from the administrative assistant position that has not been filled this year. So any questions, comments, concerns? I am open. Hand it over to the speaker.
Hey, yeah, we're gonna open up the time for Q&A with the first raised record. We're gonna start with Chair Steve.
So first of all, I want to say thank you for coming here and presenting this bill. Also, thank you for, I know with the BSOF bill, we raised concerns last semester about just having all the money be provided by Senate. So I really appreciate the effort from executive to put money forth for that. I guess my question is kind of a silly one, but is the pom-pom suit something that like is usable by other branches too?
100%. Anything we really propose is supposed to be used by all branches and all students of CSU. Granted, we don't want all these students in CSU using the suit that might cause health concerns. But yeah, this is something that we are totally welcome for anyone in ASCSU to use. And like I said, there are efforts that are put into that project to make it sustainable. So if it does fall apart because people are using it every week, that is totally okay. So good question.
I yield my time.
Okay, next is Senator Milford.
You said that the rail jam is in conjunction with Snow Riders.
Mhm.
Are they an officially recognized student organization?
Oh, I think they are.
In that case, why are they
No,
not?
they are not. They are not.
They're not?
They're not, no.
So we are using student funds to fund a non-official student org?
Well, we are partnering with them.
We are partnering with them.
Yeah, similar to the Ashton, I'll hand it over to you. A lot of confusion. Go ahead, yeah.
So they're doing it all through Joseph Spratt, which is registered. I forget what his Pratt name is, but through that. And the Snow Riders is like helping out, but they're not like, the funds aren't going like through them. That makes sense.
So this is in conjunction with a registered organization. In that case, why are they seeking $5,500 through this reallocation instead of going through BSOF, which is the official way to seek funds?
To my knowledge, they have gone through BSOP as well. 5K through BSOP.
5K through BSOP. Okay. Where is this event going to be held?
West Lawn of the LSC.
So it's going to be out on the west lawn of the LC. Given that we've scarcely been below 50 degrees all winter, is planting trees really viable offset?
I would
to
think.
environmental impact?
Sorry, I would think the trees would probably be planted a little later, but the funds would be set aside in order to plant the trees. Claire, go ahead.
I apologize. So in terms of afforestation and green, oh God, what are they called? Green, you buy them. They're like, you buy them, they are Effectively what it is, hey, I have carbon. I have this much carbon, Taylor Swift's bottom. I have this much carbon, I need to offset this much carbon.
Credit.
Thank you. You're welcome. Green credits. It's not going a good place, by the way. You buy them, and then you buy them from somebody, and that somebody goes, oh, I'm going to plant these trees, but there's no government oversight. So I would hope that we could maybe make a little day of it from ASCSU and go plant those trees, figure out how much it would take, and we can make an event and do that around campus, like off the sidewalks, find somewhere to put more trees.
Given that Earth Month is in April, I bet Director Deason would love that. I see someone pointing. Yeah, good stuff. So yeah, there's potential to like collaborate and talk about this. And this is why we try and encourage people from all branches to be involved in the events we're planning. It is not just an executive project. It is not just a Senate bill. We want to work with y'all. And I appreciate the people that have been in the office more often and collaborating with us. I'm going to call out on you, Brooke. You've been fantastic, and we've been able to hear your opinion. Chair Mananti has been to the last two cabinets. It has been fantastic to start to see this collaboration, and we want to continue this. So thank you, Senator Pickerel, for that recommendation, and we will definitely be bringing that back to our team. And I think that would be a great opportunity, not only to offset the carbon that this event will be promoting, but also to bring us together in light of sustainability.
I'm all for collaboration, but I know a lot of us are busy, and only seeing a monthly executive report makes it a little hard. Out of curiosity, could we see those, some form of like, hey, here's what we're working on event-wise, so we can coordinate on a more frequent basis?
Yeah. To my knowledge, we do come here almost every week and provide updates on the projects we're working on. And like I had mentioned before, I know Senator Simyam has come and talked about all of the events that she plans on doing this semester, which I believe are written in the weekly notes for Senate. Yes. So there are multiple opportunities for you to be informed about the projects we're doing, in addition to coming to Cabinet.
Thank you. Neil.
Thank you. Yeah, we have minutes that are sent out every week from the past week, which depending on, I don't really know how specific you make your minutes, but I would assume you would talk about events that were mentioned.
So with my minutes, I apologize, the previous weeks, so just now, we got the weeks out. I fell a little bit behind, but from previous senates from last semester, I've been writing all of execs reports, not verbatim, but for the events they're holding. And then I also provide their like director name, and you can find all of their emails under the website.
Thank you. Senator Davis.
Who is Joseph?
Joseph Godshall is our Deputy Director of International Affairs. He was a later hire, kind of like the middle of last semester, but he works under the Department of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion within our cabinet.
Okay. Have you discussed Railgen? I know you talked about discussing it with your Director of Sustainability. Have you also discussed it with your Director of Environmental Affairs?
Yes, and because Director Deason is extremely busy with Earth Month, she has designated this onto her deputy, but she is aware of the event, she knows it's happening, and she's provided input as to how she thinks we can move forward with offsetting the carbon that we will emit.
Okay. Will there be a period of discussion and debate?
No? Oh, 'cause it's the first reading next
Oh,
week.
okay. I'll yield then.
Thank you. Associate Kemper.
I want to express that I think it's really admirable to like hold true to a campaign promise. I don't know necessarily that I think that any amount of planting trees offsets what I think is not a very viable idea. I think it might be more powerful to say, hey, there could be a better way to do this, or to say, hey, we had this idea and it was a really awesome idea and it's something we ran on, but maybe we were wrong about it. I know a lot of people spoke up and said that they don't really feel like this is the best use of funds. I'm not going to nitpick this bill. I think we need to go ahead and allocate these funds and move forward. But I think that was expressed
by a number of people. And I think it's powerful in admitting you were wrong. And that maybe it's not the best way to go forward. I don't know if offsetting the carbon emissions negates the fact that making fake snow when we haven't even had a winter, you know, just isn't as viable.
Point of order, is this, I don't believe this is germane, this is Q and A.
I'll take it.
Associate Camber, is there a question behind your statement?
No, I'm sorry, I didn't realize there was still a question and answer. My bad. Yield.
Thank you. Chair Russell.
Hi, this is just, a lot of the allocation will be like covering for some expense that wasn't budgeted for when you made the last budget. Will you be advising the next president? I don't know why I said that was such a confusing tone. Will you be advising the next people to take office to build these into their budgets and maybe not do like as deep budget cuts in certain departments as you did this year?
Yes, so that perfectly ties into the response I wanted to provide that I wasn't gonna. I agree. I agree. I can't speak for the entire cabinet. I cannot speak for Nick. I cannot speak for the planners of this event, but I agree. And this is something that Pamela Norris, our queen, brought to my attention because it was just an oversight on my behalf, and I think a lot of our behalfs. And that is why we have put the sustainability team on it, because it has gotten to a point where there have been funds invested, not just by us, but by other organizations. And it's got to the point where we can't really pull out. And so I do, to that degree, kind of admit that there was some oversight, especially when it came to the sustainability of this piece. And so when it comes to advising the next administration, I think that's definitely something that's going to come up. And ultimately, it's on them if they want to set aside money for Rail Jam. In terms of the drag show, I know there was conversation last semester about allocating $5,000. I have no idea what happened to that, but regardless, I knew it was going to happen this year, whether that was coming out of OOTP, whether that was coming out of diversity, wherever. This just so happens to be the place it's coming out of. In terms of the other items, there were more.
I am sorry, but we're now out of time.
Do it.
What? To extend Q&A by 2 minutes.
Or exhaust the speakers.
There's no one else after Chair Russell. There was a motion to extend Q&A by 2 minutes. Is there, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Any abstentions? There's 3 people who said no. Okay.
Division.
No.
My bad.
Could I just do a loud point of?
Madam Speaker, I call division on that.
All those in favor, please raise your placards.
I told you.
All right.
I didn't mean that you were wrong. It's my bad.
No, it's not your fault.
It literally is.
You can put your placards down. All those opposed, please raise your placards. It was close enough.
Actually, that.
Any abstentions? Oh, no, this is, and multiples of 3. Give me a second to do some math.
Is it 12 to 3? What is it? Is it 12 to 3? Is it less than 12? Oh, then I win.
And with information for we need 2/3 to extend.
Parker made that very clear.
Sorry.
It was all.
Do I have abstentions?
No.
With a vote of 12 to 6 to 3, the Q&A time has been extended by 2 minutes.
Alrighty, so literally it's gonna take like 20 seconds. But yes, we will be advised. So a lot of these things kind of came up through the year, and to provide a little bit of clarification, I will use these 2 minutes. In our cabinet meeting today, we sat down and went through every single department's budget and what it, Chair Menanti. Chair Menanti was there to speak to this, but we went through every single budget and looked at how much they had spent so far and what their plans were for the rest of it. So we had a perfect picture of how much money we're gonna have at the end of the year. It's maybe a few thousand, if even that. So these are projects that came up during this year that we were like, oh, if we could, we would invest money in this. Minus kind of the first two that we listed. Yeah, BSOF, we do not expect the funds to be gone by now, so we will advise the best we can, but we're working off of a limited budget. We didn't cut budgets because we wanted to. We cut budgets because we needed to. We cut positions because we needed to. But in regards to your main question, yes, Nick and I both plan on advising the next administration as to how to budget, because we were not provided that from the people that came before us. And I just don't think that is a sustainable way of running student government, especially given that I have never created a budget before, let alone one of 1.7 million. So.
Mic drop.
Thank you, Eddie. Great. This bill we sent to budgetary, university, and internal. And we'll go DEI for fun. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
And now I will be stepping down from chair to present my bill.
Yay. I love being on the other side of the mic. That's cool.
Charlie and Terry and read the abstract when it's pulled up.
This bill aims to give RHA funding to support students and their events.
Yeah, okay, so we're gonna start with the names that I added. Let me grab my computer actually. Okay. We have Ricky Winston. I meant to say senator. That's a senate. Senator Warner of College of Natural Sciences. Nora Osland, Chair, Budgetary Affairs Committee. Senator Clark. Esperanto Resource. The Pride Resource Center. Apologies for her. I guess. Yeah. I don't know. Enoch Novelty Chair, DEI Affairs Committee. Senator Back. Graham Kelly, Chair, University Affairs Committee. Senator, College of Natural Science. Jakai Nunley, Deputy Director of Health, ASCSU, and Mia Ritter, Retention and Improvement Officer, ASCSU. Anyway, as you can tell, this bill does not have much to it, and I'm not gonna lie, I definitely wrote this bill really quickly, but it was mostly because I was more ready to explain it rather than write it all down. I think last week, or maybe 2 weeks ago now, I came to the Senate and said that there was an RA who approached me and some of the branch leaders about funding for an event because RHA was not going to be able to fully fund her event. And mostly what we got out of that conversation is that setting a precedent by funding her event is something that we didn't want to do. So instead of funding her event directly through ASCSU, we would be giving money to RHA in hopes that they would be funding her event, as well as other events that student orgs and other RAs and community and CCs, community coordinators, hold for their residents. Open to questions.
We'll start with first responders, Senator Davis. Does the RHA have any sort of I think they're also run through like a Senate-based process. So do they have some sort of way of determining what events get funded and like how much and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so about a week ago now, last Monday, I went and I sat in an RHA Senate meeting. And when I tell you it was a whiplash to how we run Senate here, they barely used the microphones, y'all. It was so interesting. They didn't even have the podiums up here. They just talked. But it is mostly through different elected positions, plus senators who are coming from the residence halls who sit in different RAs, and student orgs will come in, present their bill, and then they'll ask questions, kind of like we do, and then they'll have a week, and then their following Senate meeting, they vote on how much money they're gonna give them or if they pay the full amount.
So then will this $10,000, once it gets allocated, also be, like, go through the same process when they're deciding to fund events?
So this $10,000 will go into their budget in order to fund events, which means all the events given to them will go through the same process, even if they're funded through this $10,000 that we give.
Chair also. There are a couple of things with this bill that have to be ironed out for like the accounting side. For that, how closely are you working with the RHA leadership team?
I'm in contact with them currently.
Okay, that works. You just need to. There's also, I know there's a possibility in the bill, the wording is like, it seems as if you will be doing what the WGAC bill just did, which was transfer funds into the RHA account. Would it be possible, because RHA also does their accounting through the SLICE office, do you believe it would be possible for you to talk to the RHA team that you were working with about having those funds held in the ASCSU fund balance and then paid out throughout because it's the same accounting department running it, essentially? Because asking, we talk to RHA for this.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm still a little confused on your question, but we can probably iron it out later.
All right, sweet. Thank you. Are you?
First, I'm just going clarification. Did you say that they're unable to pay for the event or unwilling?
It's director?
Wait, for the ski thing?
Yes.
Unable because they won't sign a form, or like Winter Park won't sign one of their forms. So I think it'll, in general, like they can go, like they don't go through our process, they can do a different one, but like we can't directly fund that trip right now from this bill, but like if it goes into that fund, it could, but I think that's it. That makes sense.
Was your question mostly RHA funding it or us funding it?
Specifically RHA.
There's a little bit of both. They have enough money to completely fund it, but they have a little birdie in their ear that says don't fund the entire event because we want to always save funds for whatever else comes. And so they're a little unwilling to fund the entire event. So this not only goes to help them fund the entire event, but also fund other events like it.
Thank you for that question. I guess, to me, it seems a little premature to bring it to the Senate asking for more money when they already have funding for this. This seems like they have internal accounting that they're choosing how to allocate their money, and I guess I don't understand why this bill is being brought to us.
This is mostly my way of helping the RA because I was strongly advised not to send a bill through Senate to fund this to the RA. So this is my way in still keeping at least a little hope saying, hey, I want to help you, but because of our processes, I cannot. I cannot in a direct way, but I can in a way that gives them money from us. And also they have funds, but they don't have as many funds as they would at this time of last year, maybe this time of next year, because I don't know if I wrote it in here. I probably did. I hope I did. But right now their funds are delayed. They should have gotten $20,000 as the semester started, but they aren't going to get that until about, I think it said June, which doesn't do anything for spring semester. So this is my way of like asking us to help them, to help an RA, to help Student Works.
Thank you, Neil.
Chair Taylor.
So how much money do they have now?
When I last went, they had $16,000, but this does not include the 3 bills that they were proposed the week I went and the bills that could have been proposed this past week. I think I don't know if they funded those bills right now, but I know about from that last meeting, they were asked about doing really simple, quick math about $18,000. And of course, they're not gonna fund the entirety of that because they don't have that money. It's just, that was what was proposed last week or 2 weeks ago. So I don't know at the moment how much. they
Point
funded.
of clarification. I think I was also in that meeting because I was presenting a bill to RHA, a very different reason. They had about 36,000 in their budget.
Are you sure?
Yes,
Oh,
because I heard it.
Oh.
I remember being like, that's, why are they telling me they can't fund it?
I
They
told her
have,
it was 16.
yeah, no, they have more than that. But what was I saying? They have funded and partially funded a lot of the bills that they've shown. I showed a bill for about $9,000. I got 4, so we'll do for that. So they're not, they said that they were not capable of funding like every single event that came by with a huge ask, like 29,000 event, like the RA's 7,000, 5,000, I don't know, more than 2,000 event, I don't remember. But they are capable of funding smaller events and they are capable of funding parts of the event. I believe the main issue here is that they believe that they would be overextended if they had funded this event and then they got another event or like a bunch more events because apparently every year they have a lot. I don't know, I can't speak to RJ, but I do know what they had and I do know that they have funded some of the events that they have seen already. Thank you, Ariel.
So then is this money to go to a specific event?
This money is, so we can't tell them to fund this event. Like what I was told in my little branch leaders meeting, is that we cannot specifically tell them to fund this event. Like I can't write in a clause in this bill to say that the allocation of money is to go towards the ski event that this RA is holding. But with this, I have been in talks with their president. If they do receive this funding, they do plan to fully fund this event.
Point of clarification, they actually do have 16,000 in their bank account right now. I think you might have got confused. 36,000 is the current amount they're gonna be spending. And so the RHA general account's at 53 minus that 36,000 that they're spending. So they're at $16,677 right now.
All right, sweet, thank you so much, I got mixed up.
No worries.
I'm actually misinforming people.
Rid of information, is this, okay, I'm not sure if this is information or clarification. More so clarification. Is it that this money is just being used as like a safekeeping?
Senator Bogner, I would ask you to put yourself on the speakers list because this is just a normal question.
Oh. Well,
Gracias.
So do you have like a line item kind of budget that you can show to us?
I can give you a line item of the event that I hope that they will fund. I know I was talking with Chair Osland earlier today and that in some process, we can actually keep track of what they do spend this $10,000 on, and I can report back every time they spend a dime out of it. And that is something I'm totally willing to do. And if anything, it helps my residence hall because they need more senators, because without senators, they can't pass any bills, just like us. So I will be totally willing to report every week the minute they spend a dime out of the $10,000 I give them.
I'm sorry, but we're not out of time for question and answer.
Great.
A motion to extend Q&A by 10 minutes. 5 minutes. I mean, how many people on the list? Someone.
I was expecting this
5
question.
people.
You can either extend or you can
10
just.
minutes. I motion to extend the Q&A by 10 minutes.
Is there a second? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Abstentions?
Division.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so we're gonna do this like 5 ago instead. So all those in favor of extending Q&A by 10 minutes, raise your flag, please. Okay, your flag is set. All those opposed? Okay,
5 please. Abstentions? Okay, put your buckets down.
This is my one. With no abstentions. With no abstentions. I'm pretty sure. Yep.
With a vote of 7 to 3 to 9, this passes. So we'll add 10 minutes and do you still have questions? Okay, we'll continue in chair.
Actually, we cannot because Chair Taylor has exceeded his 5-minute limit on speaking time.
Okay, Pam, did you still want to say something?
No, I love you too much. I know. Press the face.
Okay, we're good. Hey everyone, Pamela Morris, She Heard Hers. I want to just share with you, just to help with any confusion that's out there. We emailed and spoke with the coordinator for student engagement, which is the RHA advisor. Her name is Amanda. And I just want to give me a second here. I just want to give you the information that she shared with several of us. RHA is not out of funds. We currently have over 32,000K in their bills account, and we'll get about 20,000 more for the rest of the semester in separate payments from housing. We have been telling people with particularly large bills, like the ski trip bill, that we do have to make tough choices on what bills are funded partially or at all to ensure that we have enough funds to support a variety of bills and residential student engagement opportunities on campus for the rest of the semester, plus some leftover to utilize for summer orientation purchases and needs for the start of fall. Funding all of the ski trip bill is about 1/4 of the current RHA balance, and while they will get more money through another payment or two through the semester from housing, we have been discussing making responsible choices about the use of student money. So we encourage those with larger bills to see if there's other funding opportunities on campus, thus their reach out to ASCSU. And she goes on to describe many of the other bills that are before RHA at this time. So I do think this clarity of like how much money do they have, I obviously don't have access to at this moment to their account, but their advisor is indicating that they do have 32,000.
I also want to clarify really quickly. You are our liaison to RHA, and so I also would like to go off of that. Senator Barrett, am I reading your last name correctly?
Yeah, that's my name.
Great. I do trust both words from Pam, and I do trust both words from Senator Barrett, because when I did go to the RHA meeting, just happened to be the one meeting you weren't there, and they asked me to give a senator report because he normally goes to their Senate sessions. That is just one thing I want to add.
Can I have a quick point of clarification? I know I got an email from the director of finance from RHA, and I had to pull up on my phone when I said they had about 16 left. So let me clarify that with her, and I'll do that through email, and I can make sure to come back to the precise numbers. But I bet if the advisor is saying that there's 32K, that there probably is 32K. So sorry about that.
So again, we will go to associate with Kim, is that?
Yeah, that's close enough. So my question is, well, it's kind of been answered, but you don't know whether RHA will spend this money on this funding on the ski thing, but would you still like to continue to try and get this bill passed to give them more funding for any other reason besides just the ski funding that I've heard over and over again?
Yeah, something that I put in the abstract is that student orgs can also go to RHA for funding. We did just get BSOP money, which that was really great. But it still also gives student orgs and students another way to get funding, because BSOP isn't going to be able to fund something that's like $20,000 in one sitting. So it's best that they have multiple avenues, and I hope other student orgs would use this $10,000 if they do not fund this RA ski trip.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, just to clarify, so when we talked about the ski trip, can you just like briefly, I think I was gone this day, but can you just like briefly explain what the event is?
Yeah, also something I can send out is that she sent me her entire line item of every dollar that is going to be spent on the ski trip. So that is something I can send out if that is something that y'all would like to see. The ski trip is mostly, she's an RA in Allison, and she's taking about 43 people, including RAs and residents. So residents actually from the entire hall, not just from her hall, but residents from the entire hall who wanted to go. And she's taking them on a ski trip, and they can either do tubing, they can do snowboarding, they can do skiing, mostly giving them the entire day to like just go and enjoy something that, you know, Colorado brings, because it is an expensive activity to do, and she wants to really give that privilege to students who might not be able to afford it, going on a free ski trip paid by RHA or whoever. But this is mostly her way of just giving back to her resident and her community. Hopefully they experience something that they have experienced that, you know, they can take away with them.
Okay, perfect. I yield my time. Thank you.
Sorry, point of information. Any chance I could be on the list to go skiing for this?
I'm pretty sure she's already, I think it's the 24th.
Yeah, it's finalized.
Yeah, sure she has finalized. But what I was told multiple times in my branch leaders meeting is that I should direct you to the rail jam. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Senator Davis is there. Thank you. This supposed to be a camera.
I just have a couple of questions. Is there, since our money is held up, is there a possibility that this could be a loan rather than a giving? That's just a thought to throw there, I guess. Has that been considered? And then also, are there already funded student organizations where those who wouldn't necessarily have the privilege or opportunity to have gone skiing and snowboarding? Is there another avenue for that on campus that's already funded?
I'm gonna first answer your first question, and then I can get to your second question. I've not thought about a loan. That is a very interesting thing. I don't know if we've ever done that. You know, I would be definitely interested in talking about it, seeing what those logistics look like. But that's very interesting. If anything, I need you to restate your second question because I didn't fully catch it.
Are there other avenues that are already funded, other organizations on campus where residence hall students or any student for that matter, are there other already funded avenues where students who wouldn't otherwise be able to afford to go skiing and snowboarding could meet that opportunity? Are there other organizations that do that already?
Kind of like I would say BSOF could be one of them, depending on if it's a student org. No, not at all. Well, no, I think Camber's question was just funded.
Do you have a ski and snowboard club or something that an organization that's already
Yeah, that's what I was saying. If it's an org, it could possibly go through BSOF. If it's an org that qualifies under RHA, you can go through RHA. I don't really know off the top of my head any other funded avenues that they could go through. The thing is, if it's a residence hall thing, they should go through RHA, and RHA should fund it.
I guess what I'm asking is, would the students that would benefit from this, if this does not happen, does that mean that they have zero opportunity other than rail jam? Do they have then zero opportunity to try the main activity of our mountainous state?
I'm hesitantly saying yes, just because of the fact that I do not know if there's any other avenues that students without a director.
I'm sorry, but there is no more yields available. And so you'll have to be added to the speakers list.
Yeah, there's 2 yields per person.
Can I
Yes.
yield to
Either Ashton or Frank. Ashton, you look like you're chopping at the bit there. I'll yield to Ashton.
All right. You can ask your college for money for like trips and stuff. So like Warner College, you can be like, hey, but that's like pretty rare, I would say. Other than that, Snow Riders has an icon pass. This kind of icon pass.
They don't hold events, they just have the discounted pass.
Yes.
So, I yield.
My one thing about college council and asking with funds, sitting on college council all last year, it has to go through a long process. Like they have to submit something before fall semester, like for a small semester. We have to look over it, we have to have meetings, and then we can approve it by the end of the semester for the next year. So it's a very tedious walk, at least that was how we did it in the College of Natural Sciences.
I'm sorry, but we are now out of our time again.
Wow. Motion to exhaust the speakers list.
I will also mention that we only have 12 more minutes in the confidence block.
And also point of order, since we already motioned to extend the time by 10 minutes, any more further motion to extend or class required, is it void?
No, we can still continue to extend it.
Then I will keep my motion.
Okay, there's been a motion to exhaust the speakers list. Is there a second? And this, before we do this, does anyone else want to be added to the speakers list officially?
That was not a part of the motion. So
Never mind, sorry. Ignore it. Okay, there was a okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Abstentions.
Division.
Okay, we're just by placard. All those in favor, raise your placard. You can have this down. All those opposed? Okay. Oh, okay, now keep your placard. Oh. Okay, placards down. Abstentions. Your placards down. We'll do some math.
Oh, shoot, go off. Anyway.
Okay, this passes.
Read out the vote.
Sorry. Oh, wait, 8 to 6 to 5, this passes.
It's majority.
Okay, next we have Senator Booker. Okay, hi, my question from before. Okay, so considering that this money isn't necessarily for this ski trip and we have no control of what they would be using the money for, would this money necessarily just be in RJ's like back pocket? And in like layman's terms, would they just have it for like safekeeping?
That's an interesting question to ask, because to say back pocket, it's like
would they be using it for future use and not necessarily for this future? Like, would we just be giving them the money?
essentially, yes,
Like-
we would just be giving them the money with the like spoken promise that they will fund the entire trip. That's the thing I'm trying to work out right now with the president is if Senate gives $10,000, y'all would fund the ski trip. That is like something I'm working out with them right now, but as of right now, I cannot promise that they will use the money to fund the ski trip.
Point of clarification, due to the timeline being the ski trip is scheduled for the 24th, there is a very high likelihood that it may not be passed by Senate in time for the funds to even be used for the ski trip. I believe, like, that's why they're not earmarked. I can't speak for why they're not earmarked, but there is a high possibility that we just can't, like, RJ cannot use these funds based on timeline.
And so with that, my want is for RHA to fund this event in the prospects that they will be receiving this $10,000. And I am fully ready that if they do not decide to fund this, and this has not passed, to pull this out. Because this doesn't serve the purpose of helping the RA who came to us for funding.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Chair Taylor.
Yes. Would you be willing to add a sunset clause to this? Well, I guess you just have to be a full thing, so that's not a question I can ask now. How many people will be going on this event? Did you say that?
43. This does need a sunset clause, just like any other money allocation. I hope to do that in budgetary.
Awesome. Well, then that's all I have. So I yield.
Great.
Chairperson. Okay, this is basically a point of information because I did do a little sleuthing on the CSU website. And basically, as far as a low-cost ski trip, there's nothing coming up as far as like free ski trips, but low cost, they do have buses. I'm not counting that. There's like 15 times a year that are $25 per student, and then it is $34 per employee. So that's just to get up there. The Icon Pass is at a discount rate through CSU Snow Riders, and you can rent gear. If you get an OGR semester pass, it's $27, and you can rent gear to go up. So that's about as cheap as it gets through CSU. I yield my time.
Point of information, I know the bill does incorporate that $25 per student. They're taking one of the CSU buses up there. And then I know for the discounted Snow Riders pass that I have it myself, it's like $650 per student. So it's pretty expensive. Yeah, I yield.
Okay, so that was everything. We're gonna send it to committee, so if you have more questions and concerns, please go to committee.
Which committees?
We're gonna send it to university and budgetary. Yes, Chairman Monty?
I have a question, I'll put this in the DEI.
You have complete control.
Yeah, DEI, budgetary, and university.
Big her. I'm so open to questions. Something I won't be doing unless requested is going to committees. I don't want to try to loom over committees and make it a space that y'all cannot talk. If the chairs want me there to speak, I will try to do my best getting there. Past that, ending roll call. Jim Nancy.
Motion to use beginning roll call as end roll call and have anyone who came in late added.
Second. Any abstentions? Nope. Yeah, there it is. Any dissent?
Dissent.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Any abstentions? I'm gonna say the ayes have it. And with that, we go into committee reports. Internal,
Come to committee.
budgetary.
If you cannot make committee time of 12 to 1 on Tuesdays, please send me an email, especially if you have a question about a bill. I'll ask it to the committee. Thank you, Ayo.
DEI affairs.
Hi, yes, come to committee on Friday, 12 to 1 p.m. Also, I happily extend the invitation also to exec, since we will be seeing the budget deal allocation, so I also extend that invitation to exec. And there's one more thing I was gonna say, I forgot, Field.
Caucus reports, women's caucus.
I yield.
And neither of the other chairs are here, so we adjourn. I'll see y'all next week.